security, which is just primarily focusing on the security. And here is a list of our team members. Next slide, I would like to give special thanks to Mr. Battery and Dr. Aaron from the Zurich University Hospital to collaborate to create this project for us to do. And we going along with that, we work under the supervision of Mr. Lê Ngọc Sơn. So let me address the context of the project. The context of the project is to addressing the hospital difficulty where the supervisor and the trainee. So right now in the Zurich hospital, the workload is increasing while the workforce keep decreasing. So it would be much harder for a supervisor to supervise and assess a trainee. And also with the time limit, a supervisor doesn't have much time to observe and assess a trainee. So to solve this problem, but before going to that, on top of that is the hospital goals. The hospital want to eliminate the inaccurate rating because right now everything is just based on the paper and emotional rating, so which is not precise. And also the trainee wants to own his profile by himself. And in the future, the hospital also want to eliminate the paper exam because at the end of the training course, a trainee has to take the paper exam. So they want to eliminate that. So our proxy client, which is Mr. Battery, got aims to build a rating application to solve this problem for the Zurich University Hospital. And here the business process of the whole hospital system. However, I don't want to scare you, so this one we just mainly focusing on two main actors, which is the supervisor and the trainee. In this business process, a supervisor will assign a task for a trainee on his clinical task, and then after the assessment, that record goes into the trainee competency profile, and after that, the hospital will review one more time before it goes to the logbook. Right here. The next slide, my friend will be talking about the project scope of our team.
Hello everyone, I will talk more about our project scope. As you can see in the previous slide that we mentioned that our Pte.Ltd have developing a software. So it leads to our main project. Of this project is analyze and understand that workflow of that client application. And after that, we also need to recommend and find the security solution for that application. And also when we do that, we also have to find a way to apply the blockchain usage into that security solution. And this is a more general idea about our solution on the client applications. As you can see here, this is the security solution that we will apply on the application. We were using active security feature, and also we choose that blockchain will be developed as a web app service. And about this security module, we will talk more about it in the next slide. And about the blockchain web app, we also mentioned it in the other section named blockchain. And as you can see here, we mentioned client have developing the application, but because this application is still in the developing, so after we finish analyzing and understand its workflow, we have a discussion and finally come out that we also will develop a draft software. So it's be careful here because this draft software we only develop used for rule and simulate our product that can integrate and run smoothly. So this our application will don't have an advanced UI. This only have a console interface. And furthermore, drive more about the detail. And you can see here the security module that will interact with our application. It will perform the security feature like decryption and encryption and so on. This will be more detailed about in the next slide. And I mentioned that the blockchain will be used as a web app. But to make this web app can interact with our database, so we have to also develop interaction APIs. And both this security and interaction API and our application will be developed on Python. And as I said, the first session will be about security module, and my next teammate will talk more detail about this first session.
Hello, I'm Jim. So this is about the security module, which has 4 functions: encryption, decryption, hashing, and digital signature. And as you can see, there are 2 keys: the public and private. The public key will be used for encrypting the plain text to the ciphertext. And to apply to our project, the client will send the data to the server, and the encryption modules in server will encrypt this data and store it to the database to ensure the security purpose. To decrypt the ciphertext, the private key will be used for decrypting it back to the original plain text. And for the security purpose, we have designed the private key to be on the client side only, so the client will only have to retrieve this encrypted data back from his side and simply decrypt it back to the original plain data. And this process is used when the trainee wants to did his records, and when the supervisor just finish creating a record and store to the database. And the next is the hashing algorithm. The plain text will be hashed into a string of random characters, which cannot be read again. And since the hashing is a one-way function, so the hash text cannot be restored back to the original plain text. And after the record assessment, the client will send the data of the records to the server, and a hashing module in server will hash this data into a hash to ensure the integrity of the record by checking the hashing. And the last is create the digital signature. So the data will be hashed, then being signed with the private key into a data sign, and this data sign for verification will be verified by the public key to become the hash. The hash will be compared with the original hash to see if it's correct. And in the diagram, the client will sign this data and send to the server, and a verification modules in server will verify this signed data and give out the result. If the result is correct, the server will update the result. This means the signator's authenticity to the database, ending the digital signature progress. And next is the interaction API. My friend will talk about this.
Well, I will be talking about API interaction. As you can see, here are our 3 primary functions that have been integrated into the draft application so that a user could call the API function and in order to get the necessary information. So the first function is called check employee, and the second function is getting hash, and the third function is to check the hash. So let's go into the detail of each function in order to see how it works. So as you can see, the first function is used when adding a new employee to the blockchain. For example, as a blockchain web application user, a user can call a request and call the check employee API function. And API server will receive the request and process that request by checking a specific employee in the database of the draft application, whether that employee has been existed or not, and then it will return back the result to the user. So next is the second function. So this function is used when getting the hash of a specific record and store it into the blockchain. As a blockchain web application user, a user can call the getHash API function, and then API server will receive the request and process that request by getting the hash of a record, and then it will return back the result to the user. And the final is the third function. This function is used for checking that for checking the integrity and reliability of the data of a trainee's record. So this function is called as a check hash API, and then API server will receive the request and process that request by checking the hashes between the blockchain web application and the draft application, so that those hashes have been matched or not, and then it will return back the result to the user. And next, our friend will be talking about the blockchain web application.
So we use blockchain for this web application. First of all, I need to give you guys a quick concept and understanding about blockchain. So as the name says, blockchain is a chain of blocks connected together by the rigorous block. And also, blockchain is not a decentralized network. As we all know, that decentralized network that they have a server, clients connected to it, but decentralized where every participant is also a validator for this network. And furthermore, blockchain also has some security available features applied to it, so it makes blockchain more secure. And the objective of using blockchain for this project is to storing the hashes of those records stored in the rating application database, and then we can use that record hashing to compare the hash stored on the blockchain and the hash of the record stored on the rating application database, so we can know that if the data has been changed or not. And furthermore, we can analyze the data for the further usage. So this is the application architecture of the whole system. So as you can see, this one right here is our draft application, and this is interaction API. Going detail to this, in our rating application, we have crypto API to cryptocurrency API to encrypt or decrypt the data. And then on the blockchain web application, we have smart contract. We have web application UI interface, and we have the two main actors, that's the hospital and the national authority. Okay, so the next one is the scenario. Before I jumping into the demonstration, I would like to give you a quick understanding for you guys so easy to follow as the video plays. So in the Zurich hospital, Benny is a trainee, and Benny wishes is going to own his profile and make it more secure and make sure it's secure. So furthermore, he can share the record on his profile to whom he likes. And besides, Anderson is the supervisor who wants to supervise her and access the trainee quickly so that he can do as many as possible during a day. And also can trust on the trainee records to adjust the learning length for that trainee for improvements. So here is the video demo.
Firstly, the trainees will perform their task and then answering these questions and self-rating themselves. After self-rating, they need to input the ID of supervisor who will lately assess the trainee's self-rating record. The self-rating record is created with the ID of 86962. So now we will check the record stored in server's database with that ID. The answers that trainee has answered earlier now have been encrypted and stored in finished task field, and self-rating field is the score that the trainee has given themselves also be encrypted. Because supervisor has not assessed this record, so signing status is unsigned and supervisor's rating field are empty until supervisors assess. Now, the supervisor will assess the record he has supervised during the day. He wants to assess the record with the ID is 86962 that we just saw. A list of trainees' answer will be decrypted. Now the supervisor can see those self-rating answers and make his assessment for that. After supervisor's assessment, let's check the server's database again to see supervisor's assessment has also been encrypted. Still, the record ID is 86962. So we have two more fields of supervisor's rating being encrypted, and signing status has also changed to signed. The last one is record hashing, which later be used for storing onto the blockchain. Now, Benny is able to see the record assessed by the supervisor. By inputting the date he has done and chose the record on that day. After choosing the record to see, the information of that record will be shown fully. More information about this: the record is encrypted with Benny's public key and can only be opened with his private key stored on his device. And please take a look at this record hashing, because later we will store it on the blockchain. In a case, Benny wants to send his record to someone, which is profile sharing function. He will choose the record and then decrypt the record on his device, then send to recipient via their email. The receiver's email is my school's email address. The shared record has been sent to my email successfully. So let's check if we have received the record sent by Benny. As you can see, when I received the shared record, it is showed as plain text because encrypted record has been decrypted by Benny private key stored on his phone before sending to me. Next part is blockchain web application. As can be seen, here is the blockchain web application. There are 6 main features. The first one is authorizing function, which used for adding new hospitals or employees to blockchain. The second one is unauthorizing function, which used for deleting hospitals or employees from blockchain. The third one is add records. We use this function to store new records of trainees with the record hashing. Then lookup info is to look up basic information of hospitals or employees. And sign or verify message is to sign a certificate issued by the hospital, and then later we can verify which hospital has signed this certificate. And the last one is employee records, where we can look up the latest record or full records of a trainee. Moreover, we can check the integrity of the record in this function. Now, here is the context which I will be illustrating. The Zurich hospital will add Benny to blockchain storage and add new records for him. Then later Benny can see his records and check the integrity of those records stored on the blockchain compared to rating applications database. Let's jump into the first function. Now just need to input trainee's address, their ID, name and the hospital they are working for, specifically the Zurich hospital. Notice that the address must be the authorized hospital address. Now click on Authorize button, then we can see Benny has been added successfully. Now let's check Benny's info as we did earlier by inputting Benny's address into employee address field. So we have had Benny's info stored on blockchain. Still, I'm using the Zurich hospital to add new records for Benny. Now I will put Benny's address and his record ID 86962, which he has just performed and been assessed by Supervisor Anderson, and certificate for him. And click Submit button. Then we have record confirmation, which we can review one more time before adding to blockchain. Let's take a closer look at this record. Here is the record ID 86962 and its record hashing that we retrieved from the Rating Applications database. And here is the record with ID 86962 we saw earlier. Besides, the signature is automatically signed by the Zurich hospital address based on the certificate. Then after checking everything is correct, click on Add Record button. Benny's record has been added. So let's jump to look up the records function. Now, we are looking up Benny's latest records by inputting Benny's address. And here the record we have just added, with the record ID is 86962. Furthermore, we can check the integrity of Benny's record compared to the Rating Applications database by clicking on Checking Hashing button. It will return the integrity status of Benny's record. This means Benny's latest record has not been changed. In addition, we can look up full records of Benny stored on the blockchain by inputting Benny's address. After that, it will show you a full records of Benny. Here is Benny's latest record and his previous records below. As you can see, the record ID is 86962 and its record hashing. Let's check full records integrity to see if one of them has been changed. In this case, all Benny's records are still integral and reliable. So we can base on this to know Benny's competency. As I mentioned, the signature is automatically generated based on the certificate. So here is the demonstration of signing certificate. With the certificate and the signature, later we can verify which is the signer address. Then we can use that to look up that address information. Let's take this address and look up its info. Here is the Zurich hospital information, so we know that Zurich hospital has signed this certificate. To delete employee, we need to put their address and their ID with suitable hospital address. Here is Benny's address and his ID. Now, Benny no longer exists on the blockchain. Let's try to look up Benny info again. This means Benny has been deleted from blockchain.
So I'm going to continue with the project methodology of our team. So about the project methodology, our team decided to use the waterfall model because most of the time our main activity was all about gathering, designing, and making documenting. In each stage of the waterfall model, we decided to separate them into smaller milestones so that we can track the progress of our project easier. So in the first stage, which is the analyzing stage, we separated them into the 4 milestones, as you can see in the slide, and in which the main activity of them is to contact our stakeholder to get a requirement about the security aspect, so that we can make the diagrams and document about the security method that we are going to use for the project. And the next stage, which is the designing stage, it is the milestone 5. Our team going to make some diagram and also document about the security method that we had proposed before. And also to the next stage is the implementation stage, and there are milestone 6 and 7, in which we are going to develop our product, which is the API modules and the blockchain web application. And the last stage, which is the milestone 8, is also the testing stage. However, the progress of our project is never is not go smooth as our plan, because at the end of the milestone 5, our team realized that it took longer for us to proceed to the milestone 6 because we lacked the skill to analyze and design a real life project. And also there are some changes in the project, as my friend mentioned before. So which leads to we have to recreate all the diagram and document that we have made before. So because of that, we have to double the work time in our team, and we slowly catch up with the schedule that we planned with before at February 2019. And after that, everything went back to the normal. Other tools that we use for the project, for the security and API modules, we use PyCharm to create all the API modules, and Grok to connect the blockchain web application with the interaction API, and the DB browser to browse the database easier and more visually. And about the blockchain website application, we use Atom to make the front end UI, and we mix IDE and GarageBand to make and test the blockchain. So about the shortcut control and communication tool, we use GitHub, Facebook, Skype, Gmail, and Microsoft Teams. About the challenges that we face during the project, as I mentioned before, the lack of experience in analyzing and designing has delayed our plan. Also, there are some problems when working with the stakeholder. For example, the variety of stakeholders. We have to talk with our main client at Switzerland, and then talk to our proxy client about the technical requirement. So while working with two people make us confusing about the project requirement. So we have to go around a long time with no clear resource. And then the different time zone preventing us from holding more meetings with our stakeholder. And next thing, the language barrier. And you can see English is not our mother tongue language, so sometimes there will be some misunderstanding and miscommunication between the stakeholder. And the development team application is under development. The last challenges that our team faced is about the new technology. We don't have much resources about that, so it took us a long time to research by ourselves. And next, I will talk about the team role. Han Jun is a security specialist and also Python developer, Java developer. Yuka, he is business analyst, security specialist, Python developer, and Java developer. Dong Yi, he is our team member, also business analyst, security specialist, web developer, Python developer, Solidity developer. And me, I'm involved in business analysis, web developing and animation designing. And about Bin he was a business analyst, web developer, and Java developer. And next is my contribution and learning achievement. So I had the chance to sharpening my skill in Adobe After Effects and Illustrator to make all the video demonstration and poster. So and also web application and also security knowledge that I had the chance to take part in the security class at Robusta to gain more knowledge and basic knowledge about the security and how to working with clients to make to take their requirement and make report and diagrams. So this is my working hour. Totally, the amount is 320 hours. And next is my teammate. I will talk about my achievement in this project. About Java, when developing a web service, it gives me a opportunity to learn about Java and also in the first stage of the solution, we thought we use Java to build our security module. So in that time, I also learned about cryptography developed by Java. And after that, we changed our plan back to Python. So also I learned about Python when developing the API and also about the socket connection. And again, the cryptography. And we also use the Python to develop the draft software. And in the meantime, when we developing the draft software, I also learn use the SQLite tree for Python when we developing our database. And I'm also responsible on analyzing and find the security requirement and also the solution and document the demo. And this is my total work time and the time separate in each section. And next, June will talk about his learning achievement.
I worked a bit with analyzing the business workflow at first, but the rest of the project, I worked a bit on developing the web service with Java, and all the March and April, I worked mainly on developing the API modules using the Python language, and for the database to the data transferring. And next is my working hours, and I work most in Python developing. Next.
Next is my role in this project. I mostly develop the web application, especially front-end web application using JavaScript, jQuery, and Bootstrap. And furthermore, I develop the security model using Java language in order to test the theory to the practice, like hybrid encryption, asymmetric encryption, and symmetric encryption. And the most important thing that I learned how to think analytically and critically, and about the contribution. I mostly draw the diagrams in order to illustrate the business process in the project, and developing Java security module and developing front-end web application. And this is my working hour. As you can see, mostly I developed three parts, which are developer, front-end web developer, Java developer, and business analyst. And next is we will talk about this role.
My learning achievement in this project, actually I didn't have a chance to learn Java programming language as my friend did, but I spent most of my time on blockchain to build blockchain web application, and which is the Solidity programming language. And my contribution is to gather information requirements from the clients, and then I design the system architecture and security certification to apply to the system architecture. And also I manage my team and maintain the team communication every week. Okay, so here is my total working hour. I spent more time than my friends because I'm the team leader, so I got to spend the time to finding the solution, finding the puzzle for my friends to connect them together. So that is the end of our presentation. Thank you for your listening. Any question?
So you guys said that I have a question for you. That why you choose blockchain as your platform? Because there are, I think, cloud is more flexible and popular.
That's a very interesting question. I would like to thank you for that question. So to answer your question, I would like to show you some. Because blockchain is like it has security features inside it. So I would choose that. And to understand more about blockchain, is one user request for a transaction. Every block representing a transaction created, and the block is broadcasted to every participant on the network. And when all not agree upon that block is valid, it will go into the blockchain. So once the transaction is verified and blocked, it cannot be altered. The data is immutable. Any more question?
So you guys said that you focus mostly about the blockchain settlement. So can it be implemented to other system other than the hospital system?
So besides applying to the hospital, blockchain can also be used for many other business processes. Is this likelihood related to fraud, data reliable, or and supply chains also, like for example the food supply chain. Okay, you can use that to know the origin of the data come from.
I noticed you have a large group. What kind of problems did that create for you, or did?
Actually, at first we communicated very well. However, nearly the end of the project, some of my teammates they had their internship, so we didn't collaborate with each other much at the time. But then I convinced them to work and focus much more on the project because it is much more potential than their current job. So that's the only program that I have with my teammates.
This is a problem that our team has been facing because at nearly the end of the project, there has the internship, so I pay attention to doing this.
It is a security-related project. So, do you think security-related work after the project is for you, the security engineering into software, is it clearer
Actually, now this is clearer for us to understand because first of all, we didn't have the experience of understanding your rating application architecture, so it would be harder for us to analyze the data, which data is created and used by every actors in the hospital. So now we are clear on that because we are jumping into the technical, so it will be much easier for us to understand.
So how many business projects you draw during this project?
Actually, two. Supervisor and training.
Well, I remember the whole hospital workflow is have trainee, supervisor, and program director, and also additional authority and the highest one. So you use UML activity diagram to draw. Yes. It's similar for the first picture, not very complex. That a lot of arrow is the whole workflow of the hospital. So from my understanding, you have two kinds of idea. The first one, you have the idea to task the data, right? And you store the task in the blockchain. So why don't you task and store it in the blockchain directly? Because when you apply the blockchain, you can store data by task and store in the blockchain. You do not need the separate two idea.
Yes, I see. Thank you for your question. Actually, blockchain, when you want to execute a transition to create a new block, it got to be someone to interact with it on the machine. So contract can interact with contract, but not the machine contract interact with the contract. So it has to be someone using the address and do it manually. For example, like the authorized address, you can use that and you can do it manually.